Welcome to Please Like What I Like. I'm Joseph Gladding. With me always is my brother, Michael Gladding. Say hello, Michael.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
It's hard without visual cues. Today we've watched and are going to be discussing Tampopo.
I like to think that I do not ask for much. You don't have to sit with me, look at me, we don't have to touch. You don't have to go for a ride on the back of my bike. Please like what I like.
Michael, take it away.
All right. So, Tampopo. It's a movie by Juzo Itami. I believe it is his second feature film, 1985.
Japan.
Yeah. When I got Criterion Channel around 2020, I was unemployed and depressed and feeling passive and unmotivated, spending a lot more time watching movies than before. I was already into a lot of Japanese media, so when I kept seeing Tampopo there on the front page, I eventually gave it a shot, and I think it's a hard movie to watch without falling in love with it a little. I ended up watching most of Itami's filmography after that. He does have other movies I've liked. The Funeral is my second favorite of his. I thought that was a movie he had made later on, but I found out while reading up on him for this that it's actually his first full-length movie.
I was actually going to ask you what other, because he did have a little bit bigger of a filmography than I anticipated when I looked it up. So I was going to ask you if you had any others that you would recommended by Itami.
Sure. I was gonna save it for the end, but
We can
we can do it
absolutely. Just put a little
Okay.
note. We'll do it at the end. No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Tampopo is definitely, in my opinion, his best. It's my favorite of his. It's an enthusiastic declaration of love, not only for ramen, but the simple human joys of cooking and eating and sharing food with each other. Kind of call back to my first pick, I guess, because
So actually,
that was
yeah,
a
I
big
wrote that
theme in
down.
Princess and the Frog too.
Coincidence? Question mark. Both food
Yeah.
based.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Do you find that you have that kind of relationship with food
kind of like I'm not
normally,
a
like where you kind of associate food and sharing food with the love of family? Because I
yes,
feel like we were kind of raised with a mother who did kind of put that emphasis on food, and whenever there was a special occasion, our mother would always try to do something special with food. Like she had that breakfast Christmas sausage bake that she'd make. She'd do, a lot of our holidays and special occasions were definitely marked with food. So I feel like
yeah,
we got that kind of love of food and association with food. And
yeah. I've been told that I express affection for people by sharing and giving food a lot.
yeah, I
Tend to
have. That's a big thing for me. Huge. Like when I want to be festive, I want to fuss over a meal. That's like
yeah,
my way of participating in the holiday is like if it's a summer holiday or my birthday. Like especially like I know it's weird, but on my birthday I love to just get out the grill and spend like 5 hours smoking meat or something. There's something about
I'm not
sharing
a I'm not a huge
food with
cook
people.
myself, but yeah, I do like to share food with people.
Hmm.
And like if I've found a restaurant I really like or something, I want
Oh,
to
me too. You got
bring
to
people
drag
I like to
everybody
it.
around.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like the times I've tried making alcoholic beverages, it was mainly to give to people, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely a connection that I have.
The cast in this movie is great. Like it's not all the time that I notice, especially in foreign films. Sometimes I'll notice like if I see the same actor and the same director's movies a lot, I'll notice it. But this was my first Itami movie, and I was
Mm,
surprised that I noticed at least three people. from
Oh,
other things.
like recognized? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, like
Ken
Ken
Watanabe.
Watanabe.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I think
Tsutomu
most.
Yamazaki was in a bunch of Akira Kurosawa, Takashi Miike, and Nobuhiko Obayashi movies.
Okay.
The Man in the White Suit, Koji Yakusho.
Yeah, he's in a lot of
He was
stuff
the detective in
lately too.
Cure, which is like one of my favorites, and he was the main suspect in The Third Murder, which is a really good Koreeda movie.
Okay.
I was like surprised. I don't know. It's not often that I'll watch a foreign movie like that and be like, oh wow, I know that guy. Like, oh, I recognize that guy. I don't know. It was fun.
I think with the guy in the white suit and Ken Watanabe, it was kind of early in their careers for this movie, because I don't think like Itami he had mostly done like acting in movies and directing commercials before like these first two movies came out. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if like well-established actors were clamoring to be in his movies yet. Although there are
Mm-hmm.
some like actors that had huge careers already that are in this movie, like the guy who they saved with the vacuum cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
and
That reminded me of. Have you watched I Think You Should Leave? The
I
Tim
haven't seen one
Robinson
with
sketch
a
comedy show.
I don't remember a vacuum cleaner incident
Well,
in it, but
there was one episode where they
I
skip lunch, so he
yeah.
chokes on a hot dog, and then like 2 episodes later, there's a sketch where he's trying to sell a vacuum to suck hot dogs out of your
Oh, okay.
esophagus, so you don't embarrass yourself and get
Yeah.
fired at work.
Yeah, I think I've only seen the first couple episodes of it. I should go back and watch more because it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
I had more to read. Oh, but if like a lot of the main cast, Itami's one of those directors that uses the same actors again and again. The guy
Yeah,
who,
like Tampopo was his wife,
yep,
and she's in every one of his movies.
yeah, they're partners.
Mm-hmm.
And the Yamazaki who plays Goro tends to be the male lead in a lot of his movies.
Yeah, he was in Kagamusha and High and Low.
Okay, yeah.
He was in some Kurosawa movies, so I noticed him.
I didn't know he was in High and Low, but I remember
Mhm.
finding out that he was in Kagemusha. So yeah, in Tampopo, the main story is interweaved with these semi-surreal sketch comedy tangents that it dreamily wanders in and out of. So it's a hard movie to get bored with, in my opinion. The first time I saw it, I was confused as to why dandelion was chosen for the name. That's what Tampopo means, because I don't really associate dandelions with food. You can cook or brew with dandelion, but it's hardly a staple or a taste draw. But this time, I thought it kind of seemed appropriate for like the dreamy, floaty tone. The way that the scenes sort of like you can say they float like dandelion seeds on the wind. There's an unbearable lightness of being thing kind of going on. Yeah, and like that. I think the sort of surreal nature of the vignette sketch scenes hit me more this rewatch when I realized like when the man in the white suit gets shot, like the guys in the main story react to the gunshots, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice the first time. So it's like there's a guy getting shot in the street, who by the way is alive with us watching the movie at the beginning. Um, and they don't react like they react to the gunshots and like look like they're watching him get shot, but don't interact with that scene in any way.
That's none of their business.
Yeah,
The police will handle that.
yeah. So that kind of drove home like how un unreal the tone is with the sketches. I think
Mm-hmm.
the tone in the sketches is a lot different, I think, than the main story. Like it's still a comedy in the main story, but it's not as wacky. Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the main story has got like a light-hearted Western vibe to it.
Yeah, and that's
And the sketches are kind of like on a sketch by sketch basis. They'll kind of go where they need to go and be what they need to be.
yeah. I think he got like a. Have you ever seen Shane? Come back, Shane.
I don't know, honestly. I've
Yeah.
seen so many westerns that I feel as though I've seen Shane, but I don't think I've seen Shane.
Okay. Like Shane, I remember as a kid watching. I don't think I've seen it since. The reason, like,
Yeah, like I could have seen it as a child.
because it kind of sticks out in my memory watching it with mom, and then later that same day seeing an episode of Rocky and Bullwinkle that referenced the ending of that movie, and it's like the first time that sort of like coincidence had happened to me, where like I became aware of something and then instantly saw it referenced, kind of like a thing that happens once in a while.
Lot lately.
Yeah, it's a synchronicity. Yeah. So yeah, I also watched an interview with Nobuko Miyamoto, the wife of Itami, who played the title character, and she said in the interview that she hoped that the film would spread around the world and take root like a dandelion, and that's why I think she thinks it's called Tampopo. On that subject, she also says that the film never really caught on in Japan. It did win some Academy Awards in Japan, but when she had heard that it was like well received and popular in North America and Europe, she was kind of surprised. So, like I said, Tampopo, hard to not find something to like in it. As of this recording, it has 100% on the Tomato site that I don't place much interest in, really, but I mean, that's a point in its favor, I suppose. I'm sorry. I thought I had a better ending to my
problem.
Kind of wanders off now.
Some things go and just kind of end.
Yeah. Well, I more, but I don't like the rest anymore. So now let's just do loose stuff.
All right. I know. One thing I really enjoyed about this movie was its cinematography. So I looked into the cinematographer, Masaki Tamura, to find that they didn't do that much. And I was surprised because I thought this movie looked very good. And they did Lady Snowblood 1 and 2, also movies that I think have incredible cinematography. And I was kind of surprised to find, like, I did not a lot of the movies on that list jumped out as familiar to me, particularly.
Did he work with Itami in other movies or no?
I did not write that down.
Yeah. 'Cause I didn't think to look into the cinematographer, but like the kind of choice of angles and stuff that's in Tampopo kind of meshes with how his movies usually look, I think. Like he's
there is a lot of movies on his IMDb page, but like I said, it was just not a lot that I had seen.
Okay, sorry.
But I don't think so. It doesn't look like it, but you would know better than I. Anyway, but I just wanted to say I really liked the cinematography in this movie. There were some moments that like really stuck out to me. Like a lot of the night scenes looked like amazing. Like when the truck first pulls up, and when they Tampopo and Son finally approach the sensei's camp. I thought that looked great. The whole oyster.
Yeah, that whole
short.
The scene at the just going back to what you said about night scenes. I thought the homeless camp scene like looks convincingly like nighttime, which like back in the 80s, a lot of nighttime scenes to me don't look like nighttime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thought they did a good job with that. And also like there's that nighttime scene where Goro and Tampopo go on their like only one-on-one date. And like then like you see the shot of the train passing in the background, and then that's the train that the guy with the toothache's on. In the behind the scenes thing I watched, they had a hard time getting that shot because it was hard to get the train in the background to show up from inside the restaurant. Yeah, so they had to like get really bright lights outside and like shine it out from the restaurant to get the like cityscape and train to show up. Yeah.
The fight under the overpass where they're silhouetted.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
that's
that
cool.
looked really great. And the first look of Tampopo in the new kitchen, I thought that looked like there were some moments that really like took my breath away. Like maybe like go like, oh wow, that's really great looking
Yeah.
filmmaking.
Oh, and you mentioned the oyster scene. Yeah, that's
That was my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, it's like ridiculously sensual. um, yeah, it's sticks with you. You could,
Like some of this movie's visual references to Ozu. In particular, there's a scene where like Tampopo stares at the screen and says Tampopo, like as the name of the restaurant, and even like the music in the background is very reminiscent of an Ozu film. And the way she turns and looks directly at the camera, and how the camera angle's kind of like low, it all like just really screamed Ozu at me.
Yeah, I if you watch his movie before this, the funeral, like I thought that had come later in his career because there's so much of Ozu in that movie that I thought the whole point of the movie the first time I saw it was like to show Itami's take on an Ozu movie. So like, yeah, if you want to see more extensive Ozu love coming through in Itami's work, then you'll also get a lot out of The Funeral, which also has one of Ozu's stable of actors in it as the priest. Love Ozu, like see his influence in Japanese movies.
Yeah, this movie had a lot of like really referential moments.
Yeah. Oh, and like I never finished my point about Shane.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, like there's definitely references to westerns, like at least like tonal references to westerns, and especially in the way that Goro interacts with the rest of the cast. Like he's the guy coming in from out of town that sets everything right and then leaves. He's got the bull horns on the top of his truck. But like that scene at the end when Goro drives off and Pisken is chasing after him is
yeah, totally.
I think that's specifically referencing Shane. I think because that's how Shane ends is with the little boy chasing after Shane, and Shane rides off on his horse, and he's like, "Come back, Shane!"
It also reminded me of any number of scenes in Western movies where a character's running after a train.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
the camera will be kind of like hanging out the train window as it is of the truck window, kind of like that.
That's another cool thing to see in the behind the scenes is them filming that, because there's like three guys hanging off the truck.
That's fun. I thought the like every time people fight in this movie is also very Western. It's like more tough guy kind of just trading punches and throwing each other around instead of like a choreographed action scene.
Yeah.
I put tough guy fighting.
Yeah, it's like very much tough guy fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Pisken, I that name was so weird to me, and I tried to find out why he's called Pisken, or if it's supposed to be a reference to peace. Like I've definitely heard like in Japanese movies, like the street punks using the word peace like it's a punk rock word instead of like a hippie word. So like since he's definitely supposed to be like a guy who's kind of having trouble outgrowing his teenage delinquent habits, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be kind of a holdover from that, because he's Tampopo's childhood friend who has like a crush on her, but she was married and she's like now she's widowed, but she still treats him like a little boy. But yet, if you search for the name Pisken, you just get this movie. And like I tried searching for whether that PIS thing is a suffix of any kind, and nothing came up on that. Yeah, I'm perplexed by the name Pisken.
I was also kind of confused, but I just let it go.
Yeah, like the PIS, like there's like or when I said suffix, I meant prefix.
Yeah.
But there's like a similar suffix that's like a childhood friend type of thing, but it would come after his name. Although sometimes Japanese people will switch two-syllable words around. Like I've heard people say paisen instead of senpai. So maybe it's that. I don't know. I gave up after a while.
Never heard Ken piss, and I don't want any now.
Yeah, exactly. I know that there's a drink called cow piss in Japan, which sounds a lot like you're drinking cow
Yeah.
piss, but it's CALPIS. But it's just a popular beverage. It's a plot point in the movie Tokyo Zombie. But now we're getting off on a tangent. Sorry. Are there any of the vignettes, the sketches that you were like, I don't get this, why is this happening? Or did they all like connect with you the first time you saw it?
Not really.
Yeah.
I got them all.
Okay.
Yeah, I got them all.
Yeah, I feel like the one where the guy embarrasses the rest of his coworkers by being a big foodie at the business meeting when everybody else just copies the first guy's order. I don't think I got that the first time, that they were all like that he was the new guy on the totem pole.
The junior, the junior employee.
So I got that more the rewatch.
Mhm.
See. Oh, the slurping spaghetti scene I think also made more sense to me on the rewatch, because I don't think I noticed the first time that the guy at the other table that's slurping his spaghetti is a white guy, which I think is important, because like the ladies that are listening to the what's it called when you act right,
Instructor.
when what's it called
Oh,
when table manners, that kind of stuff, etiquette. Etiquette's the word I was looking for.
Etiquette. I almost had it, and then I almost said ethics, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go for a second.
Yeah, ethics would have got us there, I think. But yeah, they're listening to the etiquette lecture about how it's polite to eat spaghetti in Italy. So like they're all trying to be as quiet as possible. So when the Western-looking guy at the other table is the only person of European descent there, and he's eating loudly, it suddenly gives everybody permission to eat the way they want to eat.
Future mic editing here. The phrase that got garbled was a person of European descent eating loudly. Thank you.
At first I was like, is this just like a European restaurant? Because like the French businessman part and this part happened in the same place.
Yeah. I guess so. I think it's just supposed to be a fancy place, you know. So they probably have like pan overseas cuisine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's places like that. Did you learn anything about ramen?
I didn't know that those swirly fish cakes were called Naruto. Yeah. I thought it was just a cartoon.
Yeah, Naruto is the fish cake thing made of fish paste. And memba is fermented bamboo shoots.
Didn't know. I've made a simple kind of like homemade vegan ramen one.
Oh yeah.
But I definitely didn't have as much fats in it as they're making. I didn't know that the boiling led to clouding.
Yeah, I didn't
because
know
I've
that either.
had cloudy ramen before and just thought that was like a different type of ramen.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It seems like the ramen places around here are always like changing their hours or like changing which food ordering app they're on. So we always seem to get ramen from different places.
Yeah, I don't think I've had like actual not instant ramen that many times. Only while visiting other cities.
It's pretty big on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I really liked the rice omelet scene. It was kind of like, a silent movie. That was kind of fun. It had like
just
a silent movie-ish kind of bopping along 1920s score, and it had no dialogue and a very silent movie kind of vibe.
Yeah, speaking of that sort of like purely visual thing, the scene with the lady that keeps poking all the stuff in the food place and the guy's chasing her around like it's a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's like a cross between an old cartoon and like the milkmaids and egg inspector scene in Clerks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that one was the biggest stretch to me. Like its inclusion felt like, I don't really see what this has to do. The old woman squeezing the foods was the biggest stretch for me. It's like I laughed at it. I thought it was a cute part, But at the end of it, I was like, this doesn't really have the same connection that all the
Okay.
other ones.
Like, it doesn't have much heart to it, right?
She could have been poking anything. The fact that it was food seems like trivial.
Oh, okay. I get you. I guess that's true. I suppose like it's connected to working in the food industry in a way. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Because it's not like it's a restaurant. It's only vaguely food connected.
It didn't add to the theme of the movie in any
Mm.
It didn't feel like a connection. It didn't kind of vibe
Yeah.
with anything except the overall silly tone.
I'll bet that when he was planning the whole thing out, he got a chance to make a scene in like a little food market place, and was like, "Well, this is connected because it's food. What can we do here?" And because of like the aisles and stuff, thought of the chase sequence. That's my guess. Yeah, it doesn't really have the same heart or connection with cooking and eating.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like all of them had something to do with like the joy of food or the love of food or the connection between food and feelings and stuff. And
Well, there's
like,
also
this was just a
like
lady literally feeling food with her hands, and the spaghetti class didn't really have much of a connection either. But like, it was, I don't know, for some reason that one didn't throw me as much.
So at this point, we had a bit of a break because I had computer issues. Unable to solve them in time, I rejoined the conversation using my phone, and that turned out sounding awful, like Edison wax cylinder quality. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue playing Joe's side of the conversation, and I'm going to re-record my side of the conversation. So if it sounds a little awkward, that's why. But trust me, it's better than what I could have given you. I don't know if it's kind of lame to keep bringing up the behind the scenes thing, but
No. That's why you watched it.
one of the earlier tangents, the one with the business meeting,
Yeah.
the first changeover when the businessmen walk by, and Tampopo and Goro are doing the sort of Rocky training. They kept messing up the timing. Like they show up on the bike at a different time than the businessmen show up. They had to keep doing it over and over again. And then that happens again during the fight scene. And like Itami keeps saying how he feels bad having his actors do these strenuous things over and over again. And it's always the exhausting scenes that had to be reshot over and over again. I thought it was funny. And also in that scene, that the businessman scene, I don't know if I didn't notice the first time or if I just didn't remember it. The exaggerated redness when everyone's blushing.
Everybody's blushing. Yeah.
It's really cartoony.
Yeah,
It's
I didn't
like
notice it the first time either.
effect that they added. Yeah, they're actually wearing like face tinting makeup.
Mm-hmm.
You ever made soup that you had to like boil bones? Like
Yeah, to make broth.
get a stew going.
Yeah, you gotta get the stew going.
Yeah, wonder if this is the only film that's had a dedicated broth maker on hand.
Yeah, I don't know.
You ever seen Mamoru Oshii's red spectacles?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, usually does animated movies, but this is a live action movie. It's still very cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
But like the movie also has ramen scenes, ramen shops as a key plot point.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both very traditional ramen shops. The type of ramen shops that this movie's all about were already kind of becoming old-fashioned by the time the movie was being made. It's meant to be kind of nostalgic for, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there's still places like that. I guess it kind of also explains why the restaurant setup reminds me more of Ozu movies than modern movies.
Yeah, like more contemporary movies.
Yeah. Now that I think of it, I guess more recent things I've seen, like Japanese movies, anime, that has scenes of people getting ramen. It's always, almost always, street stalls.
Mm-hmm.
less indoor shops and more place where you can see the people on the street walking by. I guess that's the more modern type of thing. I don't know. I've never been.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've never been.
You think he got the idea from the phrase spaghetti western to make a western tinged movie that revolves around a noodle dish?
I think so. Yeah, I really do. I think I bet like there's some sort of translation that they just call them noodle westerns or something. Like it's something similar to that where like I think in a lot of other countries spaghetti is a more generic term. Like everybody just calls things noodles, like whatever noodle it is, they'll just call it a noodle.
Could be.
Like they'll as like a generic term.
Yeah.
Like spaghetti when by the time it gets to Japan they might just be talking about noodles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part?
I like I said, I liked the oyster.
Oh yeah, the oyster scene.
I thought that was like really evocative and like it kind of like took me away for a second. And I liked the when they go to the like homeless camp where the sensei is.
Oh yeah.
That was my favorite part of like of the main movie.
Like the.
I have a least favorite part.
It's not the Tom and Jerry poking scene.
No, I thought the turtle scene was its unpleasantness was compounded by its pointlessness.
Oh. Yeah.
It was like it happened for no reason. It was like, oh, let's just kill this turtle. It doesn't make our movie any better. We're not going to talk about the turtle soup that they make. We're just going to kill this turtle and on to the next scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's, I think.
It didn't make it didn't need to be there.
Yeah. That's why.
It added nothing. It only took away. It added nothing.
That's why I gave the warning.
If the guy was like, "This is a dish it's been in my family. I want to share it with you," something like that. It was just like, "Oh, the chef's gonna make us something special. He slaughters a turtle. Cut to the next thing."
Yeah, I think it's supposed to show is like that he's upper class, sharing what would be considered a delicacy. Like also, there's definitely a choice in this film not to shy away from the sort of carnivorous animal slaughtering aspect of food cooking. Because even
yeah, I feel like they got that with the pig's head. The pig's head got that out of the way. That's your connection. They didn't need to kill the turtle on screen.
In the food sex scene, there's like the eel part. I think that's eels. The eels definitely didn't survive that, you know?
Oh, they were the crawfish.
Oh, it's crawfish? I thought it was eels.
Something like some sort of shrimp adjacent.
When he puts the overturned bowl on her belly?
Yeah, he drowns them in brandy.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know. At least that like was part of a bigger thing. I'm not saying that any animal needs to die to make a movie. I mean, like I think like the closest to acceptability that's been pulled off on that is like Apocalypse Now or something.
It's not something that happens in films very often, and I'm happy about that. But whenever it does, I never don't feel shocked by it.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you seen Pink Flamingos?
I have.
Yeah. The scene with the chicken sex haunts me.
Yeah.
To this day.
I agree.
There's other parts of that movie that I like, but I won't rewatch that movie.
I will also not rewatch that. And I'm a pretty big John Waters fan.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like Polyester is one of my favorite movie watching experiences I think I've ever had. I love John Waters, but that movie I will never watch again. Don't watch Polyester till you come here. We'll watch it together. I have it on Blu-ray, and my Blu-ray comes with the scratch and sniff card for Smell-O-Vision. If you're gonna watch it without Smell-O-Vision, what's the point?
Yeah, good point. The passing the egg yolk back and forth scene.
Yeah, I like that one.
Part of the same scene as the the rest of the food sex
love.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk
I like
more
that
about
whole scene, and I like the whole oyster scene. What's that?
Talk more about the man in the white suit and his girlfriend as like
His
entities,
gangster mall.
because I think like their whole shtick really gives a good counterbalance to Tampopo and Goro. Because, like, with Tampopo and Goro's story, it's like food, specifically cooking food and appreciating food in a very, like serious and, like, self-improvement focused kind of way. It's a very orderly and very respectful way to engage with food. Whereas the scenes with the man in the white suit, he's completely given over to sensuality, and it's like pure pleasure engaging with food with him.
Like a hedonism.
Hedonism, yeah, that's the word. Like, yeah. That death scene, he foreshadows it at the beginning, and, like, specifically says he doesn't want any chatter during his death scene. And then during his death scene, which again technically happens before the beginning of the movie, because he's watching the movie. Anyway, during the death scene, he doesn't tell his girlfriend to shut up, and they have a conversation.
He says, "Shh, starting now," and then his scene ends.
Is it
his movie?
Is his shift after?
Final movie starts at the very end. After he tells the yam story, he goes, "Shh, it's starting now."
I kept remembering it, thinking the yam part was the last thing. I like how he dies by statues of pigs. I think that's very...
Maybe that's what reminds him of the boar story.
But like,
before his death.
Because he's basically lived like a piggish existence.
Yeah.
And his suit turns red because, he's bleeding and he's dying by these red pigs. The pigs are painted red. Yeah. When they shot that scene, there was a woman passing by with her groceries, and she refused to leave until they convinced her that he hadn't been shot and he was fine.
That's kind of a funny little behind the scene.
Yeah.
She was just like, "No, I want to know this is fake, and I will not leave
should I call the police?
I'm gonna call the cops. You just deal with the cops however you want to deal with them. I'm gonna go home with my groceries." I like how in the beginning, the guy in the white suit was talking about how he hates being interrupted during a movie. And the whole thing of the movie was that it kept interrupting itself. Like, the movie did not tell a straightforward story. It was consistently interrupted. So what else do you have?
I guess that's about it. Could talk about the rest of Itami's movies.
Yeah.
Anything else that you took notes on about this particular movie?
No, that's all my notes, really.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, this movie had been kind of recommended to me a few different places. I see it popped up and mentioned a lot on enough sources, and you included, that I went into this expecting to love it, and I only kind of liked it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed watching it both times. But I was expecting to, like, really kind of fall in love with it, and I thought it was hard not to like, but I also thought that it was a movie that I didn't exactly vibe with in a meaningful way. I kept feeling like I was watching a good movie get interrupted by varying quality commercial breaks. Instead of watching an anthology film, or instead of watching a narrative film, the combination of the two felt a little clumsy to me. Not that, I don't know how they could have done it better or anything. It just didn't work for me.
That's a good point.
In that sense. I felt like the narrative getting interrupted kind of prevented me from getting too emotionally invested in Tampopo's journey. And I feel like
that makes sense
the loose connection between each anthology little episode, like some of them weren't as connected enough, and I feel like the movie ended up uneven as a result, and it was a little bit, it like really felt its length the first time I watched it. The second time breezed by a little more because I knew exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
But it just like it didn't it. I liked everything about it, and I wouldn't change anything about it. But those things I mentioned prevented me from considering it a movie I loved or something. I'd recommend it to people. I would. I'd say like, oh, this movie's a really fun time. But I liked it on the same level as I like Marvel movies more so than I like, not in a bad way. I'm not here to trash Marvel. But like I liked it in that kind of way where it was like entertainment and kind of like a fun popcorny thing. It was very like referential and it was very witty and silly, and it wasn't. It didn't give me a lot to chew on.
Well, I'd say
it was good dessert.
Yeah, all of his movies have that kind of like jokey sort of tone to them.
That's not what I had a problem with. I like the tone. Like I'd watch another one of his movies. That's why I asked in the beginning, like why I said I was going to ask if there were other movies of his you'd recommend, because I liked a lot of it. I liked its tone, and I liked its like cinematic like production. I liked how it was made. It looked good. It sounded good. It was clearly a guy who knows exactly what he was doing and exactly what he wanted. This time around, what he wanted just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I hadn't considered before the format, like working against it for somebody, but the way you put it made sense to me. Like, I don't like it when songs keep stopping or changing their tempo. So, like, I could see...
You want to tap your foot the whole time. You want to sway. You want to dance. And, like, exactly. And, like I said, like, I liked the watching of this movie, and I would recommend it to others. I just feel like it isn't the way I would make a movie.
Yeah, I love it, but I'm not offended. Okay, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to talk about his career for a while. All right.
Please.
So, Itami, like I said, it took him a while to start writing and directing like feature films. He made a short film right out of college called Rubber Band Pistol. I don't like it. You can see some of the good things about his later films in it, mostly his sort of playfulness with the camera angles and dialogue, but it just feels like watching someone's home movies to me, as far as the story, so I don't really recommend watching it. Just feels like a bunch of people hanging out. But after that, he only directs commercials and acts in other people's movies for like a good 10 years. He still acts in movies after he starts directing. Very rarely appears in his own movies, though. He's in that short movie, that Rubber Band Pistol, but I don't remember him ever playing like a speaking role in his later stuff. So yeah, he's not a Woody Allen type. He doesn't appear in his own stuff. If you want to see him, he's in a few movies. He's in Sweet Home, which it's a classic. If you're into classic video games, you might have heard of it. There's a video game based on Sweet Home, the horror movie. That was one of the main inspirations for Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nintendo game. You have a party who each have specific abilities, or items or abilities. Each of them are based on characters from the movie. It's a haunted house movie. It's no houseu. It's an okay horror movie. He gets back into directing via commercials, and like I've seen a couple of his commercials, but the ones I've seen just seem to be people talking at the camera and like an endorsement in front of a product. Very straightforward commercials. So it's hard to see in the commercials that I've seen of his the sort of promise of a great director in them. But one of the people that he made a commercial for apparently did see the promise in him and became his producer for his first few movies. And that's how he starts making movies. The Funeral, I only found out while reading up on him for this, was his first one. I had assumed that it was later, because like I said, it felt so much like a love letter to Ozu to me that it seemed weird to start your career like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like biting someone's style. If you do it later in your career, then it's an homage. The people don't know what your style is yet, so it's a little weird. I still think it's a good movie. It's probably the one I'd recommend most. The Funeral. Very family drama, slice of life type story. Still has some gags in it. Feels a little like a cross between Ozu's stories and a Woody Allen movie. Sorry, I've been on a Woody Allen kick, so it's easy for me to be reminded of him.
It's an easy connection to bring up.
Yeah. If you watch it, let me know if you see what I mean. But after Tampopo, he starts getting into more straightforward comedies with occasional forays back into more dramatic stuff. There's always kind of a jokiness to his movies that I've seen. Seen A Taxing Woman, which is his next one. Basically, there's like 3 movies, 4 if you count A Taxing Woman's Return, but that's like just a sequel to The Taxing Woman. There's like a handful of movies with the word woman in them, and each of those, the woman in question is his wife's character, and they're basically vehicles for her to be comedic. A Taxing Woman's good at that. Minbo doesn't have the word woman in it, but it's one of those too. That's the Yakuza one. Also has his wife's character taking on the mafia in Japan. In a hotel, there's a hotel where the Yakuza keeps showing up there and scaring off the regular guests. And in order to get them to leave, the hotel's been bribing them. And this woman has played by Itami's wife, she knows how to get rid of the mafia. We didn't mention that Tampopo's kid in the movie is their kid. I forgot to mention that.
Oh.
Anyway, Minbo. It's an interesting artifact. It's probably my least favorite of those movies that I've seen with this wife as the main character. The comedy in that one didn't always work for me, but it's fun to watch the Yakuza be the butt of the joke when they're usually portrayed as being like really cool criminals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like fun.
Mm-hmm.
The premise is fun, and some of the jokes work, but it came off the most corny to me, which is kind of a shame, because have you heard of like the conspiracies? Well, I guess it's not a conspiracy. It might be a conspiracy theory about what happened after that, about how he was attacked.
Some people believe that it could have been the Yakuza, right?
Exactly.
Because of him kind of making fun of.
Minbo came out in 92, I think, and he died in 97. It's not like it happened right after.
Yeah.
But it was like an incident where he said that someone did approach him from the Gochugumi, one of the Yakuza clans, and that he got slashed in the face with a knife. But that was like right after the movie came out. So it's weird that to me that they'd come back 5 years later when it's not like he made another anti-Yakuza movie since then. Anyway, although I haven't seen his last movie, so maybe that comes up. Let's see. I didn't see Golden Geisha, but I saw The Last Dance, which is the one after Minbo. That's one of his more dramatic ones, but that's a good one. Last Dance. It's mostly about healthcare, like end-of-life healthcare. It's about a guy who finds out he's going to die. His health is getting real bad, and he has to make peace with his wife and finish his last job, He's a conductor, I think, or a composer. Composer, yeah.
Composer.
There's a really good scene at the end where he's like playing his last composition. It's good meditation on end of life. I don't remember. It would blow the story if I remembered how it ends. But yeah, that's a good one. Last Dance I'd recommend. Not as great as The Funeral or Tampopo. His first two are probably my favorite of his. Quiet Life I saw. That one's a weird one in the sense that it has his wife and Goro, the guy that played Goro in Tampopo, in it. But they're side characters to the kids in the movie. And it's a teenage girl and her just developmentally challenged brother. And there's two very uncomfortable things that happen that kind of spoil the otherwise really light slice of life tone that's in most of the movie. So it's an interesting movie. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I would warn you that it gets uncomfortable and it's tonally weird because of that.
Mm-hmm.
After that was Supermarket Woman. I like that one. That's one of the better comedies, one of the better straightforward comedies, starring his wife as a woman who helps a supermarket improve their food offerings. It's very similar in story structure to the main story in Tampopo, but with the genders switched. But it doesn't feel like watching the main story in Tampopo. It's, if you stop and think about it, though, you'll be like, oh, wait a minute. But it's a very jokey comedy. If you want to see a straightforward comedy by Itami that doesn't have that dramatic element to it, that's the one I'd recommend, Supermarket Woman. Mystery I haven't seen. Sequel to A Taxing Woman, A Golden Geisha, and his last one, which I believe is called Woman in Witness Protection. I don't know for sure if there's an English translation of that one.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll seek out a DVD or something.
Yeah.
That's Itami's filmography. I think he's an interesting director. If you like Tampopo's jokier stuff, then that's a good sign you'll like most of his stuff. He doesn't always go for pulling on the heartstrings. Not all of his movies have the same heart as Tampopo does. Tampopo is definitely my favorite. It's the one that puts a big smile on my face, but I definitely had fun going through his filmography. And if you liked Tampopo, you probably will too.
Yeah, I'll probably check out his other stuff, because like I said, the only thing I didn't really like about Tampopo was its format. I liked its tone, and
I think you'd enjoy The Funeral and Last Dance.
I'll check them out.
Any last things you'd like to say about this one?
I liked the music, especially, because he was trying to capture a bunch of different references, and I think he nailed it. The montage during the training montage or whatever kind of had that 80s montage score, getting into shape and getting going, and then there was the makeover montage that I feel had more of an 80s synth poppy kind of jaunty 80s music kind of vibe to it. I feel the score really did a good job of kind of putting you into the genres he was emulating.
More variety in the soundtrack to this one than most of his movies. The soundtracks to his later stuff gets a little, I don't want to say lazy, but notice in his 90s movies, they tend to have a handful of tracks that just get reused over and over again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not in different movies, but one movie will have 4 songs.
One movie it'll be this is the happy song, this is the sad song,
that sort of thing.
This is the wistful song, and this is the remembering song, and they'll play whenever those things come up.
It's not bad music. It's just, contemporary sounding music. It feels like the kind of stuff you'd see in TV shows and not a feature film. And that's something I'd say gets done better in Tampopo than his later stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we say goodbye to Tampopo then?
I think we Tampopo'd.
Yeah, we Tampopo. I'd like you to apologize to the pork.
I'm sorry, pork.
Let's see. Next episode, we're doing Brian Usna's Society. So go get a copy of that. It's on...
Yes, we are.
It was on Criterion, but I think it's been taken off. I don't see it on there anymore. It is on Plex, if you want to watch it there. There are ads, but it's free and you can watch it.
It's also on the Arrow Video app,
Oh, yeah.
which if you don't have, you can get a free trial for or whatever.
Okay.
I will also probably be using a few movies from that in the future.
I will look into getting it.
It's the same price as Criterion. I think it's like $5.99
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, I do the yearly membership for Criterion. I think it's a little cheaper
Okay.
because of that, but I think Arrow's $5.99.
I forget how I did Criterion. Okay. Should we just...
Close it up.